At just 9 years old, Princess Charlotte made a casual remark that left those around her speechless. It was innocent, unintentional, but it exposed a hidden truth about her father, Prince William, that had been quietly buried for years. It wasn't about royal traditions or public appearances. It was something deeply personal, something he had never spoken of, not to the public, not even to his children. And yet, Charlotte, with the pure honesty of a child, unknowingly pulled back the curtain. In doing so, she exposed something about the future king that even those closest to him rarely acknowledged. For years, Prince William had carried the weight of this secret, shielding it behind a carefully composed exterior. "I kept this a secret," he might have thought in that moment, realizing that his daughter had unknowingly exposed something the world was never meant to see. What had William kept buried for so long, and how did Charlotte's simple words bring it all to light? Let's find out. A royal birth. From the moment Princess Charlotte entered the world, she was destined for greatness, a young royal whose presence would captivate millions. But no one could have predicted that at just 9 years old, she would be the one to reveal what had been hidden for years. Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana was born on May 2, 2015, at St. Mary's Hospital in London. From the moment her birth was announced, the media buzzed with excitement, and the public eagerly awaited the newest member of the royal family. People around the world watched for updates, waiting to catch their first glimpse of the little princess. In many ways, her arrival signaled a new era for the royals. This was the second child of Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, and Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, known affectionately as Kate. Already, the public had followed the early life of her older brother, Prince George, with fascination, and now there was another royal baby to meet. News outlets shared every detail. The pink outfit worn by Kate upon leaving the hospital, the royal wave from Prince William as he carried baby Charlotte to the car. Each moment was captured and replayed countless times. Princess Charlotte's name itself was a tribute to family legacy. Charlotte honored her grandfather, King Charles III. Elizabeth paid respect to her great-grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, and Diana was, of course, for her paternal grandmother, the beloved Princess Diana. From the beginning, she carried the weight of history, even as a child. But beyond the spectacle of royal celebrations, a hidden truth lingered in the shadows, one that no one expected would come to light through Charlotte's own words. Looking back, it's easy to see how her journey was always leading to that moment. The moment when, with the honesty of a child, she would pull back the curtain on a secret her father had carried for years. A childhood in the public eye. From the moment Princess Charlotte was born, she was more than just a child. She was a future icon, constantly watched, photographed, and admired. Each milestone, from her first smile to her first day at nursery school, was documented, discussed, and often celebrated by the public. Her life, though filled with privilege, was also one of immense scrutiny. Every word, every gesture, and every outfit choice was analyzed, making her childhood far from ordinary. Yet, amidst the cameras and the attention, Charlotte grew up with a sense of normalcy, thanks to her parents' efforts to shield her from the overwhelming spotlight. However, as she grew older, her natural curiosity and candidness began to shine through, leading to moments that would unexpectedly reveal deeper truths about her family. One such moment came when she was just 9 years old, when her innocent remark unveiled a secret her father, Prince William, had guarded for years. This revelation not only surprised those around her, but also offered a rare glimpse into the personal struggles of a man destined to be king. Charlotte's words, though simple, carried a weight that resonated far beyond their initial utterance, reminding the world that even those in the most privileged positions carry burdens unseen. Her childhood, marked by both joy and scrutiny, was a testament to the complexities of growing up royal, where even the smallest moments could have profound implications. Millions of photographers camped outside family events, hoping to catch a tiny wave or a shy grin. Even the simplest family outings became headlines. But even as the world saw a picture-perfect princess, something remained hidden beneath the surface, a truth that only she would come to understand as she grew older. Despite the royal spotlight, her parents were determined to give her as normal a childhood as possible. Prince William and Kate Middleton were known for blending royal duty with hands-on parenting. They chose to spend much of Charlotte's early years at Amer Hall on the Sandringham estate, which provided a peaceful country setting away from the intense media glare of London. Her days there were filled with typical toddler adventures, running around the garden, playing with a family dog, and tumbling on the lawn with her brothers, Prince George and Prince Louis. From the outside, many people assumed Charlotte lived a fairy tale life, fancy dresses, royal birthdays, and the best of everything. Yet, behind palace gates, her parents were mindful of the pressures she would one day face. They made sure she understood that being royal wasn't just about privilege. It was about duty, service, and sacrifice. As she attended philanthropic events with her mother, Charlotte absorbed the weight of the family name. She saw firsthand how the royal family's influence could bring attention to good causes. But amid these lessons of royal responsibility, Charlotte also began to notice something strange about her father, a subtle shift in his mood at certain times of the year. He was always affectionate, patient, and strong, but occasionally there was a quiet sadness in his eyes that she couldn't quite understand at first. It was just a feeling, a fleeting moment too small to question. But as Charlotte grew older, she began connecting the pieces. She had no idea then, but this small observation would eventually lead to a truth that had been buried for years, one that, through her innocent words, she would one day unintentionally reveal to the world, offering a glimpse of the past. By the time Princess Charlotte turned 9, she had already grown accustomed to the carefully structured world of royal life. From formal events in grand palaces to official engagements requiring perfect posture and family outings always present, she knew her role well. Whether it was family appearances on the Buckingham Palace balcony or formal dinners with dignitaries, she navigated her responsibilities with poise. But despite the polish and protocol, something felt off at certain times of the year, a subtle change in her father's demeanor that she couldn't quite explain. Charlotte increasingly noticed that her father, Prince William, grew unusually quiet at specific times, particularly in late June as Father's Day and Prince William's birthday approached. One mid-June afternoon, the family was in the gardens of Kensington Palace, doing a small photo shoot commemorating Father's Day. Prince Louis toddled about, clutching flowers he'd picked, while George tried to contain a playful grin for the photographer. Charlotte, always observant, stood beside her father and then noticed something unusual, a gentle but distant expression in his eyes. The expression in his eyes was as if his mind had wandered far away. She'd seen the same faraway look before, but never quite understood it. Why did Daddy seem different in the days that followed? The air around her father remained somewhat solemn. Even though a birthday celebration for William loomed on June 21st, Charlotte overheard staff discreetly mention, "He never seems to enjoy his birthdays," or "He's always more reflective this time of year." At 9 years old, she didn't yet grasp the full weight of these words. After all, birthdays were meant to be happy occasions, weren't they? Yet every year as June turned to July, a quiet solemnity settled over the palace, though no one explicitly mentioned the true cause. A subtle hush fell whenever the subject arose, as though mentioning it might unravel something carefully kept in place. The palace did not speak of these emotions openly. In a family defined by centuries of decorum, vulnerability was rarely showcased. Official statements praised William's commitment to his duties, but behind closed doors, his carefully maintained image concealed something deeper. Charlotte didn't know it yet, but her innocent curiosity would soon uncover a truth long buried beneath royal tradition, a secret that had shaped her father for years, one he had never spoken about, not even to his children. Prince William's reserved heart was not an accident. His quiet approach to grief and loss was something he had learned through a lifetime of royal duty. Where his younger brother, Prince Harry, eventually spoke openly about therapy and emotional struggles, William carried himself differently. His future role as the future king demanded stability, composure, and strength. Any display of vulnerability in his mind could chip away at that carefully maintained image. But Charlotte, with the unfiltered honesty of a child, saw past the polished exterior. Charlotte's earliest inklings of her father's private sorrow emerged in small, everyday moments. She noticed that his cheery demeanor could shift if someone brought up topics like the upcoming memorial tribute. "The anniversary is next week," a palace aide once noted in passing. William's expression remained neutral, but Charlotte caught a flicker of something unspoken. He'd smile politely, nod in acknowledgement, and quickly pivot to another subject. Even at 9, Charlotte sensed that this wasn't indifference, far from it. It felt more like a shield, the same kind her great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, had perfected over decades on the throne. Never complain, never explain was the unspoken royal code, a tradition of emotional discipline that had defined the monarchy for generations. Yet, despite all his efforts to hide his emotions, Charlotte could see the weight he carried. And whether he realized it or not, she was beginning to understand the secret he had kept hidden for so long. A child's eye for detail can unwittingly reveal truths adults prefer to keep veiled. Children, with their unfiltered questions and pure observation, don't overthink or analyze. They simply observe and absorb. Charlotte, with her innocent curiosity, was beginning to piece together the unspoken sorrow that her father carried. She didn't yet understand the full depth of his emotions, but she could sense the weight of his silence. The palace, with its centuries-old traditions of decorum and emotional restraint, had taught William to hide his vulnerabilities. Yet, in the quiet moments, when the world wasn't watching, Charlotte could see the cracks in the facade. She noticed the way his smile didn't always reach his eyes, the way he would sometimes drift off into thought, as if his mind were somewhere far away. These small, everyday moments were the clues that would eventually lead her to uncover the truth about her father's hidden sorrow. And though she was just a child, her observations were sharp and unfiltered, cutting through the layers of royal tradition to reveal the man beneath the crown. Charlotte was no exception. By 9, she had developed a bright inquisitiveness, often describing things as she saw them, straightforward and without the layers of tact that come with age. During family tea times or quiet evenings at Anmer Hall, she would occasionally blurt out simple yet profound questions. Why doesn't Daddy like birthdays? Such questions often hung in the air, met with gentle redirection from Kate or a subtle change of subject by William himself. If George or Louis were present, they'd shrug or revert to sibling antics. But Charlotte saw something they didn't. She noticed that her father's eyes sometimes flickered with a mix of sadness and gratitude, as if he appreciated her curiosity but wasn't quite ready to delve into the details. During one particularly tranquil afternoon, Charlotte and William found themselves alone in the palace courtyard. She asked him directly, "Does it make you sad to see pictures of Grandma Diana?" William paused, only a second but enough for a child to sense hesitation. He then offered a measured response about missing her, about how wonderful she had been, and how proud she would be of Charlotte. Yet, behind his loving words was an unmistakable tension, hinting that there was more he wasn't saying. That evening, Charlotte mentioned it to Kate, still trying to piece together the puzzle of her father's emotions. Kate, aware of William's ongoing internal battle, told Charlotte that everyone handles sadness differently. Charlotte nodded, but the answer didn't quite satisfy her. In her simple worldview, sadness was meant to be comforted away with hugs, kind words, and reassurance. She had yet to grasp that in the world of royalty, grief was something to be carried, not spoken about, and that perhaps was the greatest secret of all. As Charlotte became more attuned to her father's demeanor, she picked up more clues from family, staff, and older relatives. Snippets like, "He's never been one to cry in public," or "He must remember his mother every time he sees how grown-up you kids are," caught her attention. Comparing these remarks to her own observations, she formed a quiet hypothesis. Daddy's sad about his birthday, but why? The royal family's annual calendar, packed with ceremonies, birthdays, and public duties, provided countless opportunities for Charlotte to watch William's behavior. Trooping the Color, for instance, saw the family appear on the Buckingham Palace balcony, waving to crowds. William smiled dutifully, but Charlotte occasionally noticed a flicker of melancholy in his eyes when conversation turned to absent family members. Although outsiders simply saw a diligent prince fulfilling his obligations, Charlotte recognized the subtle patterns in his behavior. He might cancel a dinner, retreat to his study, or appear more subdued while reading bedtime stories if the day had stirred old memories. Occasionally, she found him staring at old family photos, his quiet eyes fixed on an image of Diana holding him as a child. Once Charlotte innocently asked, "Daddy, why do you look so sad in that picture?" William, taken aback, mustered a reassuring half-smile. "I'm not sad, sweetheart, just remembering," he said, placing the photo back in its folder. It was the kind of reply that left more questions than answers. Little did Charlotte know how close she was to uncovering the final piece of the puzzle. The innocence slipped. Summer approached, bringing warm days and a promise of school holidays. For Charlotte, it also meant more outdoor play, visits, and time to observe her father even more closely. To local charities with her mother and plenty of time with her father, often doing ordinary things like bike rides or picnics in the garden. As her 9th birthday neared, the entire family looked forward to a modest celebration. But then, with the casual honesty of a child, Charlotte made a remark that sent an unseen ripple through the room. During a small family gathering, Charlotte made an offhand comment that would resonate beyond the palace walls. Surrounded by a few close relatives, she quipped, "Daddy doesn't like birthdays much, especially when June ends." She giggled after saying it, not realizing the weight of her words. In the hushed pause that followed, it became apparent she had touched a nerve. William, standing nearby, froze momentarily. His expression remained calm, but those who knew him well could see the tension in his eyes. A relative quickly changed the subject, steering the conversation toward lighter topics, yet Charlotte's comment lingered in the air, shining a spotlight on a carefully guarded corner of William's emotional life. That night, William tucked Charlotte into bed, planting a tender kiss on her forehead. She sensed his gentle unease and asked, "Did I say something wrong, Daddy?" He assured her she hadn't, explaining that sometimes birthdays carry both happy and sad memories. "It's just something I deal with," he told her softly, stroking her hair, hoping that answer would be enough. Charlotte nodded, still unsure why grown-ups had to hide their feelings. In her young mind, feelings were meant to be shared, not concealed. That evening, William paced quietly in his study, reflecting on Charlotte's words. For so many years, he had guarded his grief beneath the formalities of royal life. Now, in a moment of startling clarity, he realized just how much his young daughter saw through him. "I kept this secret buried within me," he thought, "not just out of duty but out of fear of reopening wounds that had never fully healed." Charlotte had unintentionally laid bare a truth that had been whispered behind palace doors but rarely spoken aloud. But why did birthdays cast such a shadow over William's usually calm demeanor? Charlotte had unknowingly stumbled upon the answer, and in doing so, she had opened the door to a family truth that the palace had long kept in silence. The real reason: Diana's birthday. What no one had told Charlotte, at least not in clear terms, was that her late grandmother, Princess Diana, had been born on July 1st, just 10 days after William's own birthday of June 21st. Though Diana had passed away many years before Charlotte's birth, her memory lingered throughout the palace. Photographs of her were preserved in private alcoves, and mention of her name brought warm smiles, but also a quiet sorrow that never truly faded. For William, each June leading into July was an emotional tightrope, a reminder of how closely his birthday had once aligned with his mother's and how swiftly tragedy had changed everything. At 15, he had lost his mother under the relentless glare of global media. That trauma left an indelible mark, one that shaped how he carried himself. He learned early on that showing too much emotional vulnerability could become fodder for the tabloids. Over time, he internalized the idea that honoring Diana meant safeguarding the softest parts of his heart, especially around this time of year. This was the hidden truth Charlotte had unknowingly stumbled upon. Birthdays weren't just birthdays anymore. They were a poignant reminder of lost love and the enduring weight of memory. The birthdays weren't just milestones to be celebrated. They were reminders of loss, of absence, of a mother who should have been there but wasn't. The palace rarely linked these two birthdays so openly, preferring to keep personal grief behind closed doors. It was an unspoken truth, but now a 9-year-old's pure honesty had brought it into the light. Charlotte had unintentionally revealed something profound, that her father's composed exterior masked a sorrow that no passage of time could fully erase. The royal tradition of emotional reserve, deeply ingrained in the British monarchy, is rooted in stoicism that dates back centuries, intertwining with the concept of noblesse oblige, the idea that the nobility must carry responsibility with dignity. Historically, monarchs were expected to remain steady anchors for the nation, suppressing personal turmoil lest it undermine their authority. This culture of understatement was famously captured in Queen Elizabeth II's demeanor during times of profound personal loss. She seldom betrayed her emotions in public, even during challenging times. King Charles III, then Prince of Wales, inherited this approach, navigating a life of public scrutiny from an early age. While he was more openly contemplative than his mother, Charles still adhered to the tradition of presenting a calm exterior. Prince William absorbed these lessons from both his grandmother and father, recognizing that his path to the throne demanded unwavering resolve, one that left little room for personal vulnerability. Yet, as societal attitudes toward mental health evolved and as tragedies like Diana's death laid bare the humanity behind the crown, a new generation of royals found themselves at crossroads. Prince Harry openly spoke of panic attacks, therapy, and the pain of losing his mother. William supported mental health causes, championing open conversations through the Heads Together initiative. Publicly, he claimed it was time to end the stigma. Privately, though, he maintained the old ways of emotional privacy, especially around Diana's birthday. And then Charlotte's slip of the tongue laid bare this tug-of-war. Even as William encouraged others to speak freely about mental health, he struggled to articulate his own lingering grief within palace walls. He was a dutiful prince and loving father, yet also a man who'd never fully mourned his mother outside the public eye. The monarchy's hidden tradition of emotional containment persisted, and Charlotte's unfiltered words offered a glimpse into how it still shaped William's life. Media murmurs and public curiosity followed. While Charlotte's remark, "Daddy not liking birthdays," remained private, the media has often speculated about Prince William's emotions surrounding significant dates, particularly those linked to his mother, Princess Diana. Though William rarely speaks publicly about personal grief, key moments often invite quiet reflection. The British press has long observed how these occasions might stir emotions that he chooses to keep private. In past interviews, William has acknowledged that Diana's absence is deeply felt, particularly in milestones she never got to witness. In a 2017 documentary, he stated, "I would love her to have met Catherine and to have seen the children grow up." While he remains dedicated to his role and responsibilities, the weight of his unspoken grief continues to linger, a testament to the enduring tension between public duty and private sorrow. Carrying on her legacy, his approach is markedly different from his brother, Prince Harry, who has been more open about personal struggles with grief, though the palace remains reserved on such personal matters. Royal watchers frequently analyze subtle cues. Some point out that William prefers low-key birthday celebrations, focusing on family rather than grandeur. Others note his continued work with charities Diana once championed, such as mental health and homelessness, reinforcing how her influence endures through his work. While there has never been an official statement linking William's feelings about birthdays to his mother's passing, the media's curiosity persists, quietly reminding the public that behind a royal duty is a man who, still in his own way, carries the weight of loss and compassion in the palace halls. As days rolled on, Charlotte's remark evolved into a moment of introspection within the palace. From King Charles III down to Zara Tindall, relatives recognized the delicate truth her words implied. William still harbored a grief that remained largely unspoken. The monarchy had weathered countless storms, abdications, divorces, controversies, but this small emotional detail touched a different chord, evoking empathy rather than judgment. For Charlotte, the palace hush around William's sadness was perplexing. When she asked Kate why everyone tiptoed around the topic, her mother explained that some pains are harder to share. "It wasn't your fault," Kate reassured. "Your father's sadness began long before you were born." Charlotte nodded, absorbing the notion in her childlike way. She wanted to help her dad feel better, just as he comforted her each time she scraped a knee. Though her capacity to grasp adult sorrow was limited, her empathy was boundless. Occasionally, she would draw him pictures or bring him small tokens, a wildflower, a handmade card. These quiet gestures of love reminded William of his mother's gentle side. In a way, Charlotte's innocence provided a subtle kind of healing. William felt a soft, unspoken relief in Charlotte's unwavering kindness. Moving forward, as the story around William evolved, so did Charlotte's understanding of her father's emotional world. She no longer asked as many direct questions about why he was quiet near his birthday. She simply accepted that there were tender parts of his heart he kept guarded. In her childlike wisdom, she sensed that sometimes the best help was just to be there. In the grand scope of royal history, the friction between private pain and public duty was nothing new, but Charlotte's 9-year-old honesty had created a small yet meaningful pivot. By gently linking William's solemnity to Diana's July 1st birthday, Charlotte did what generations of palace protocols had carefully avoided. She spoke aloud the unspoken connection. In doing so, she offered a tender glimpse into her father's lingering grief, proving that behind the regal titles and centuries of custom lies the heartbeat of a son who lost his mother far too soon. What do you think of Princess Charlotte's heartfelt revelation and the hidden truth about her father? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.